Hi everybody in Orlando, this is Bob McCarty. I appreciate the honor of the Jim Chapman Award. I wish I could be there, but unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you want to look at it, my oldest son was getting married in England, and by orders of my wife, I had to be there. I kind of wanted to be there too myself. Anyway, I appreciate receiving this award. It means a lot. I'm sure the plaque will have some flowery words on it that say something to the effect of, you know, he's done great things for humanity. But in reality, here's what I think. What I did really, here's what I think. What I did was have the guts to ask a few questions. I was stupid enough to keep after it, you know, going after people like the DIA and the Army, you know, the Pentagon. I might as well have gone after the NSA, but they probably already know what I'm... 2008, I came across a story written by Bill Dedman. He's a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist. His story was at the MSNBC.com website. It had to do with the Army's plans to deploy portable polygraph devices, which were officially known as the Preliminary Credibility Assessment Screening System, or PCAS. They were deploying those to combat zones in Iraq and Afghanistan. You know, the article basically was, you know, covering what the polygraph is known to do and how many they were sending over into the combat zones and the price of each, and they're lying or not. But I didn't do much with it. I didn't do much with knowing about the article or these devices. It wasn't really up my alley. But a year later, the presidential campaign was over. Excuse me. I was, you know, had more time to look at things like this, and so I did. I went, looked at the article again, said, I wonder how those PCAS, portable polygraph devices, have worked. This was April 9th, April 8th, 2009, 364 days later. I sent a handful of questions to my public affairs guys at the Pentagon. Now you see, I used to be an Air Force public affairs guy, public affairs officer, so I knew kind of how the work got done inside a public affairs channel. So I contacted the guys at the Pentagon and said, hey, you know, tell me about these portable polygraphs. Did they do everything you wanted them to do in combat zones during their first year? Well, I waited after I asked those questions, and I waited. Days passed and weeks passed, and finally, about 27 days after I had asked those questions, I got some answers, and, you know, in Arnold Schwarzenegger terms were, those answers were weak, very weak, okay? So I wasn't happy with them. One thing I learned as an Air Force public affairs officer, as a political campaign manager years after that, and as a corporate PR hack, was I learned how to recognize the smell of a stinking pile of horse manure disguised as answers. So instead of waiting for, you know, transparency from guys in uniform, I started talking to other people. You know, people outside the military. Among them were Jim Chapman. Jim Chapman told me a lot. We had conversations for about 2 years, beginning in January 2010, all the way until just a couple days before he died in April 2012. And Jim and I got along real well. You know, he had served in the Marine Corps, I had served in the Air Force. We both recognized the noble profession that is service in uniform. You know, he also served as a cop, and he appreciated the life of a beat cop and investigators. I'm sure many people. Jim and I shared a relentless pursuit of the truth. You know, Jim's dated back decades with his work on CVSA. Mine was just a few years. But, you know, I think we were both headed in the same direction. After I asked the questions with Jim, you know, I went to a lot of different people. I went to people in government and outside of government. I went to people in the military and law enforcement. I went to academics. I went to bureaucrats. You name it. I asked a lot of people. I talked with Navy SEALs, Army Green Berets. I talked with Bill Endler there at NITV. I tried to get as many different opinions and sides on the issues as I could. I talked with professors who had been paid by the Justice Department to do studies about CVSA. I talked to people at the University of Arizona, and the University of Oklahoma, and other institutions about their work related to CVSA and polygraph, etc. I really am convinced that there's a turf war going on. It's been going on for 40 years, ever since Lieutenant Colonel Alan Bell, who's kind of the father of the precursor of CVSA. He said the polygraph guys had three choices. They could go along and get along, they could drag their feet, or they could fight against anyone trying to get rid of the polygraph, and pretty much that's what they've done. I'm convinced this turf war is having negative repercussions, especially on people in the military, but also on average people. So the book, it's about 260 some pages. I hope all of you will read it. I hope you'll buy hundreds of copies each. Just kidding. I want to tell you a little bit about it, even though Jim asked me not to make this a campaign commercial or a promotional video tour. But this book features James Clapper on the cover. The reason why, he's now the Director of National Intelligence, but I discovered him as the author of a memo in 2007 that made the polygraph the only authorized credibility assessment tool for use within DoD. I discovered two other guys who had written similar memos. They were in similar positions, high-level DoD positions, but Clapper's was the first one, so he ended up getting the title role of the book. Some of the people that have endorsed the book, again, on the cover, the first one, David P. Shippers. That name may not ring a bell to you, but you'll recognize what he did to earn quite a reputation in Washington, D.C. He was the chief investigative counsel during the President Bill Clinton impeachment hearings. He worked for Congressman Henry Hyde and the Justice Committee. Basically, he was a lawyer who did a great job of prosecuting Bill Clinton until the Senate could not, they didn't have the spine to follow through. He called my book, let's see, the most thorough investigative reporting I have encountered in years. This is how it's done, he said. I took that as high praise and put it on the cover. Now, there are two other guys. One, his face you might recognize. It's Major General Paul Vallely. He was a Fox News Channel senior military analyst for most of the 2000s. He was also, before he retired, he was deputy commander of U.S. Army Pacific. He called the book, he highly recommended it. For him to recommend my book, A Two-Star General, I appreciate it. Probably one of the best recommendations I got came from Captain Larry Bailey. He's a retired Navy SEAL commander. He was commander of the U.S. Navy SEAL training program. He called what I reveal in the Clapper memo an unconscionable cover-up. Now, for a Navy SEAL to say that, he's a quiet professional, as they say. It really made me feel good that he was willing to endorse the book the way he did. Several other people have endorsed the book. They're not listed on the cover. There's just not enough room, but they were members of Gold Star families. They saw their loved ones killed, most of them in Afghanistan. Largely, they believe, after reading my book, that their loved ones' deaths were due to a poor vetting process used by the U.S. military when it comes to dealing with Afghan recruits wanting to serve in the Afghan military, police, and security organizations. Venture, for me, it's really a mission. I told Jim Chapman, I promised him one time I would finish it, not knowing that he would pass away before I had finished it. I mean, there were times when I was ready to throw it out because it was such a... I encountered so much stonewalling, so much BS trying to get straight answers from people. But I think this is big. I hope you'll help me get the word out about it. I'm really honored by the fact that the organization has honored me with this award. I think Jim Chapman really deserves the award with his name on it. But anyway, I'll wrap it up here. If you want to get the book, it's at Amazon, called The Clapper Memo. If you want to learn more about it, you can go to theclappermemo.com. Ask Jim Kane, he's familiar with it. I bent his ear a few times. Anyway, appreciate you, appreciate all you do. I thank you for this award. God bless and have a great 2014. Bye-bye.